Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality, the only podcast in the entire world to present evidence that absolutely proves once and for all that there is some sort of a presence on this planet, an intelligent presence that is not human, for sure. No doubt about it, 100% guaranteed. Well, let's just say nothing could be 100%, right? Well, let's just say 99.99999% guaranteed. How about we say that instead? Because that's what we got here on this channel, folks. We got the proof. We got the evidence. I know a lot of other people out there promise it, but we bring it. We bring it here on Extraterrestrial Reality, which you can find here on the Quark Zone on YouTube, as well as on the UFO Extraterrestrial Reality podcast on Spotify. We bring the evidence. It is a done deal, as everyone knows. Everyone who has seen the evidence, for the most part, understands that it is the end game and that we have arrived. And it's a new world. It's a new beginning. Now, I'm just going to do a quick review of the evidence, really quick, before we get started here today with today's exercise. For one thing, we all know now that some object came down from the sky just before midnight on April 30th, 2023 in Las Vegas. It came down in Las Vegas. We have that proven through various sources that were filmed it, through dash cam footage, from body cam footage. We all know this, and plus we also have it on some ringtone footage, and we know that it made a sound as it came down, a sound that a meteor does not make. It's some sort of a sound that, in my mind, shows that this thing was controlled or being slowed down, perhaps. It's not a meteor, folks. We were told it was a meteor. That is false. There is no way that is a meteor, as we all know on the dash cam footage, which was filmed in various different filters at the same time. The one filter that has the ability to recognize whether it's hot or not shows that there was no heat signature. Scott Roeder, the crime scene reconstruction expert, has proven this. Has shown last week in that video, the Vindication Day video, that there's no doubt that this thing was not hot as it came down. Meteors would be hot as they fly through the sky like that. Of course, they would be cold after they hit the ground, but they would be hot as they fly through the sky like that. So that means that thing was not a meteor. And then additionally, on top of it, the coup de grace is the video evidence that was filmed by the family as they were investigating the backyard after this incident happened, after this craft came down in their yard. Whether it crashed or had a hard landing, we do not know. Maybe it's not a craft. Maybe it's some sort of incredible, impossible parachute of some sort. Maybe the craft that they were in blew up, and then that was some sort of a pod that brought them down to Earth safely. We have no idea. It needs to be investigated. I'm not a scientist. Where's the scientific community? So we have the video footage that shows two entities in the backyard for sure. And there's probably other stuff back there. In fact, I believe that for certain that there is. And I believe that more investigation needs to be conducted on the video that we have, because there were things the family members were pointing at after they had their close encounter with those beings as they got chased out of the yard. And then after that happened, you could see that they were pointing to something else, other things back there. There were a lot of YouTubers out there, a lot of other people that have studied this video over the past close to a year now, that have identified what looks like other beings back there. So there's a lot more research that needs to be done, but we do have enough evidence at this point to say, guaranteed, right, that we have the proof now. We know that there's something here. And as Scott Roeder indicated recently during the podcast that I published here during the early morning hours of last Tuesday, he stated that the questions now are, who are they, where do they come from, and what do they want? Those are the three big questions. Who are they, where do they come from, and what do they want? Now, for one thing, I think that we could say who these things are. I think it's pretty safe to say that they are insectoid in nature. That's what it is. I mean, these things have been reported by many people over the decades. After looking at this, last week, I was thinking of this book right here, the Allagash abductions. Of course, the Allagash 4, they had the missing time event. They saw a flying saucer or some sort of a strange object while they were fishing in the middle of the Allagash wilderness in Maine. back in the mid-1970s, 1976. They saw this craft approach their boat as they were trying night fishing, and then next thing you know, they were standing on the shore. They lost time. It was like at least 10 years went by before one of the people that were part of this foursome started having nightmares, and apparently all of them were having some sort of issues with that event, and they all were hypnotized, and they all remembered pretty much the same thing. And what they remembered were insectoid type creatures. That's what they remembered. And these people, most people who study UFOs know about these people because it's been talked about ad nauseum during many documentaries. But there are many people that have talked about these creatures, that they say that basically it seems there's a hierarchy, according to David M. Jacobs. There's short grays, tall grays, and then hiding out in the shadows is praying mantis type aliens, or they look like ants. That's what I believe we are seeing in this video that was filmed in Las Vegas during the early morning hours of May 1st, 2023. There's no doubt about it. There's something there, and they are using some sort of cloaking technology to prevent themselves from being captured on a cell phone. They know the kind of technology that we have. They are aware of it, or they wouldn't be having these things set up like the way they have. There are still a lot of questions at the time when that creature shows up in the video. Were the human beings, were they able to see it, or with their eyes, or was the cloaking technology working against human beings as well? There's a lot of other questions that need to be answered here. We don't have the answers yet, and I guess we will over time, because these people, the members of this family, should be interviewed again, and we need to get down to the nitty gritty of everything that happened to them that night. And because really something did happen, and they're completely vindicated at this point, as I made very clear last week, everyone in the UFO community is vindicated, because there is absolutely no doubt now that there is a presence there. Where they come from, that's the big question. Who are they? Right, that's first off. Who are they? I say that it looks like to me like they're insectoid, these beings, okay? I don't know what else to say about it. They do resemble praying mantises. I mean, now there's some people out there who are saying they're having trouble seeing the face in this image. Now here I just made a little video before I started this podcast where I have a still image of the face hovering over the fence line, and I brightened it as bright as I could using my Cyberlink Power Director program, and you could see there's a face there. There's no doubt about this, right? It's unquestionable. There's a face there. There's something there. I've shown this to people who are skeptics, and they say that there's something there. There's something, no question about it. There is a face there, and it's not a human face. It's the face that was described by the Kenmore family, by Angel, by his brother Joshua, and by his father Bobby. They did an interview last year. There were drawings that they drew. The one drawing by the father I'm going to pull up on the screen right here. He says that there are antennas on the head. Now, this is another reason why I think these are insectoids, because a praying mantis has antennas on its head too. So I guess that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at a praying mantis type, insectoid type creature. That's what we're dealing with. I'm going to pull up some information here. I don't have a problem looking on Wikipedia about this, because I'm sure that they haven't screwed this up yet. I think they probably will now. Wikipedia of course has a problem with the UFO stories, but they didn't get around to praying mantises yet. So I think we could trust this. And I looked through it; doesn't look like any of the guerrilla skeptics have their hands in this. So I think we could trust this little bit of information. But let's just read through it a little bit here. It says mantises are an order of insects that contains over 2,400 species and about 460 genera in 33 families. Their closest relatives of mantises are termites and cockroaches. Okay, we got that. They do have antennas on their head. Now, again, I think that our next phase in this investigation is going to be talking to entomologists to tell us what they think would happen if a praying mantis that we know of on Earth were to somehow evolve into a highly intelligent being that could create technology that surpasses anything that has to this point been created by humankind. But apparently, praying mantises aren't that smart. They're not that intelligent. They're just about as smart as any other insect, according to an article here that I found in the Ohio Sentinel Tribune. And this was just a staff report. It says here, talk to a mantis and it will not talk back. It says, this past week on this is an article from 2022, by the way. It says, this past week on one of our breezy days, the cover blew off the grill. Of course, it was not the wind's fault, more like mine, as my wife said. What did you expect if you did not fasten it down? So out the back door I went to chase down the grill cover across the neighborhood. Upon returning to the grill and unfolding the cover, out popped a praying mantis. The mantis fell to the ground and stared back at me with those large eyes on its triangular head. I was waiting for it to do something. Instead, it just stared and stared. Like an idiot, I said, hello there, did you have a nice ride in the grill cover? Are you okay or injured? Of course, my wife came to the back door and said, who are you talking to? So, this begs the question, are praying mantises intelligent? Their shape and posture are distinctive, and their large eyes, mobile head, and alert, watchful behavior make them seem smart as they look like creatures or aliens from outer space movies. Well, let me just stop there for a second, folks. Well, guess what? They are creatures from potentially outer space, from where we do not know. But they're here, as the evidence clearly shows, right? I just want to say that I had a little meeting with a praying mantis back in 2019. I had just moved to a new house, and I was sitting on the back porch in Frackville, Pennsylvania at that point. And next thing I know, there was this big, giant praying mantis just sitting there on my leg, just looking at me like, hey, what's up, man? And I'm just looking at this thing. It didn't seem like it was trying to hurt me. It was looking at me. It looked like there was some intelligence going on there. But according to this article, they're not that smart. It says here, however, they are no smarter than other insects. Some entomologists believe that cockroaches are the smartest of the insect world, though I digress. This is the time of the year when mantises are often seen. 3 mantises are found in Ohio, including the Carolina mantid, native species, the European mantis, an introduced species, and the Chinese mantid, also an introduced species. The Carolina mantid is the smallest of the 3, and the Chinese mantid is the largest. But anyway, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I just wanted you to know that these things we're probably dealing with are an advanced form of praying mantis. That's what they look like. That's how they've been described over the years. So we're looking at how incredible this must sound to people out there. People are going to start learning about this as time goes on. Because this is disclosure, folks. Whether some of you out there realize it or not, it's over. It's game over. Game over. It's just a matter of time. My podcast is a small little island out there in a sea of other shows and podcasts and news outlets, and there's not many people. The people who are listening to this, you're part of the avant-garde of alien scientific study at this point, because a lot of people out there are still not aware of this proof that has now raised to the surface, and at some point very soon, I am certain, will raise to the very top of this whole study of UFOs and extraterrestrials. This is it. It's over. There is not going to be any way that anyone's going to be able to disprove this. As we talked about with Scott Roeder last week, it was shown that actually what gets them caught in this video, as far as I'm concerned, is the fact that they are using technology to block out their images. It's not successful totally, and that's why we now know. And when you go along with the evidence, with everything that the family members have stated, 3 members of the family stated in that interview last September with Inside Edition that they all saw these beings 8 to 10 feet tall, and we see the evidence that they captured with the cell phone. The mother, Contra, captured with a cell phone as her 2 sons and husband were examining the backyard after this craft or whatever it was came down and released these things. And as we also know, it sounded to Angel like there were thousands of footsteps that he heard. Was there a lot more there? What's going on here? Where's the government to answer some of these questions, right? It's time to talk about this with the public. I don't think you make a big deal out of this. I think you come up with something, you calm them down, you say, hey, look, nothing to worry about. We've been looking at this for a long time, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You know what to say. I don't know where they're coming from. And the other questions too. What do they want, right? What do they want? Who are they? I think it's safe to say that they are insects. I think that's pretty much a done deal. I think it's, what else are you going to call them? They're an advanced form of insect. Now, I received one comment from a regular follower, David. I want to say thank you for the comment. And this was on Spotify, and he mentioned something to the fact of that he agrees that this is, concrete evidence. However, he says it's a stretch to call them extraterrestrial. I don't know about that. I don't think it's a stretch at all to call them extraterrestrial, because now, I mean, where were they all this time before? I mean, let's just think about this. I mean, were they living in the bowels of the earth and just decided to pop up their heads starting in the 40s? I mean, it seems like there have been sightings long before 1947, but it doesn't seem like that there seems like a lot of reports of these insectoid type creatures. There's just not a lot out there. I think they might have come from someplace else. I think actually now more than ever it's safe to say that they're probably extraterrestrial. I can't prove that, of course, but they're from someplace, right? Are they from here? Were they here the whole time? Right? Did they get worried when we started setting off atomic bombs? Is that what caused all this to happen? Or did they find us from deep space somewhere and they needed a new planet to come to, and they want to live here now, or they are living here now, apparently, out of our purview, keeping their distances, but obviously sometimes accidentally intermingling with us. And again, this goes all to show, too, what happened in Vegas that night, that late night, April 30th, early morning, May 1st. It goes to show you, this corroborates everything that David Grush has been saying to us. There are crashes. Obviously, they crash sometimes for whatever reason. And I think everything lined up, all the stars lined up for this incident, because now there's just too much. There's too much evidence at this point. Now, for instance, like say, in Las Vegas, it's you could face 1 to 4 years in prison for calling in a phony 911 report. You could go to prison for that. You're not going to do that for something like this. You're just not. This family looks like they have a lot going for them. They have a big property. Looks like they're doing well for themselves, right? Why would they want to do something like that? They're not. That's why. The 911 call, as far as I'm concerned, is absolutely legitimate. You're listening to the voice of someone who's absolutely stunned and terrified. And now, on top of it, the icing on the cake, of course, is the fact that we are able to prove scientifically that there is some kind of a creature that it was captured on that film, and we know this for a fact because it was deliberately using some sort of technology to cloak itself. And another interesting thing I would like to point out, if you look at two of the still images that Scott Roeder pointed out last week, where you see that shadow, there's like some sort of like a circle or an oval or something. There's some kind of a space in there, right? Where you could see everything, and then there's a shadow around it. Looks like it's in the corner. And this actually, if you remember what Angels had said, he said that there was a light hovering by the heads of these beings. Is that light? Is that the source of their technology to cloak themselves, to make themselves invisible to cameras? Is that what it is? I don't know, but that's something else the scientific world needs to look at. Again, folks, we've crossed the line here, whether people want to admit it or not, but this is a done deal. There's no question about it now. None. Zero. Zilch. Whatever anybody else is out there saying, right? I say, bring it on. Scott Roeder has proven to the world last week that there is no question there is some sort of entity, some sort of beings among us, a non-human intelligent species is here. And what are they up to? We don't know. Maybe they're just friendly. We don't know. Maybe they're living here among us all these decades now, and who knows? But somebody has to have some answers, right? But it's time for the scientific community to start investigating this, because now we've crossed the line here. We have the absolute proof. All these people, all these years, right? They're all vindicated now. All these crazy stories that people thought were crazy were actually real, a lot of them, right? There's no doubt about it now. There's no doubt about it. So there we are. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said in the previous show, it's going to take time. It's going to take time for this information to bleed out, and I think that's probably the right course. I think more people need to see this for themselves before it shows up in the mainstream news. I mean, I'm really scared about how that's going to be handled. I hope there's not a lot of fear mongering, but I fear that might be what will happen. I think at some point the government is now in a position where it's going to have to talk about this, because the proof is out there. It's irrefutable as far as I'm concerned. And Scott Roeder, I talked to him at length this afternoon, earlier today, about all of this stuff. And he doesn't know. He's not sure if his work's going to be recognized by anybody in this world. I guaranteed him that it will. There's no doubt about it. I can assure you at this point right now, I have not heard from a lot of different people in the UFO community. Not yet, right? But at some point, as this filters out and they look at this, they're all going to get on board with it. I will tell you. And then the people that don't get on board with it, I don't want anything to do with them anymore. Okay, they could go. Anybody that's gonna pretend that this isn't, that there's not enough evidence now. Well, guess what? I'm done with you. I'm not even entertaining them. In fact, I'm going to be very shortly ending my Twitter account. I don't want to look at that crap anymore. Okay, because we have the evidence here. The next step is now. And now we're, and back in the 1950s, there was all these science fiction movies that came out. A lot of them about giant insects, right? There was Tarantula, there was them, right? There was always a scene in that movie, right? In those movies, right? Where at some point where the protagonist in the show is trying to figure out what they're dealing with, and they finally they sit down with an entomologist, and the entomologist puts on an old film and then provides information about whatever they're dealing with, like whether it's ants or a giant tarantula or whatever. And that, I think that's the point of this movie that we're in now, where we are at. We are now going to be looking to people who are experts on the insect world. We need to have they need to be interviewed and asked about these things. What would you expect? They would know more than anybody else, right? What are we looking at here potentially with intelligent insectoid creatures? I would have to say this: if they've created technology that allowed them to be here and be invisible to us, and potentially come from who knows how many millions or billions or trillions of miles through space to get here, perhaps, or maybe they were hiding the whole time. I don't know. That needs to be determined. Those things need to be figured out. But we now know. There's no doubt about it anymore. No doubt whatsoever. There should be no stigma whatsoever anymore, because you see the evidence with your own eyes right in front of your face. You know now. Again, there's no point, and if anybody wants to argue this, I have received some arguments. There was one email or one message I received on YouTube from somebody. It was about this big. I looked at about 3 paragraphs of it, and then I erased it, and then blocked that guy from ever commenting on my channel again. If you're gonna do that, right? If you're gonna come on here and try to make a fool out of me or whatever we want to do, just don't bother, because you're just going to get blocked and kicked off. That's all that's going to happen. I don't care about you anymore. I'm only want to talk. I know what the truth is now, and everybody else should know what the truth is. You saw it with your own eyes. You watched the evidence. You had it explained to you. It's a done deal. From this point on, I look at this in a totally different light. As far as the government is concerned, what about the government? Okay. I don't know, right? But I could say this. I've said this before on the show. I think that actually the government in a way may have been trying to tell us this, but they can't. They couldn't tell us it. Maybe that's what their plan was the whole time. I mean, anybody who reads the 1997 Roswell report, case closed by the United States Air Force, I mean, anybody who would read that would walk away thinking this is absolutely absurd. I mean, we're talking about crash test dummies and the balloons, right? If they were to make a movie out of that, it would be a comedy. Everybody in it would be incredibly stupid. That's why there's no way that story is real. And then I think about Sean Kirkpatrick recently making statements to the public. I'm starting to wonder if he was actually doing it on purpose. They're trying to, I mean, if you can't see through it, I can't help you. But just think about this. What if the government wants to tell you, but they can't. They can't. That's very possible that they've been trying to tell us, but they can't. It has to come out in a different way. And this could be the way that they want it to come out. We recognize it on the outside, and maybe we just need to let the government do what they're doing behind the scenes. Maybe there's something that we don't know about. I've talked about this before. Everything I talk about on the show, all the complaints and everything I make, right? It doesn't mean I'm right? So I might not be right. Maybe there's good reason for them to operate on this by themselves without any, but at the same time, now we know in a different way. But of course, what's going to happen here once the mainstream news does latch on to what has been presented here, what has been discovered by Scott Roeder and his also Luis Castillo, his assistant. Once the world grasps onto it, there's going to be it's going to be ground shattering. It's going to be earth shattering. I don't know what else to say about it. It's going to be. I could, for all I know, maybe the government is the bad guy and they've been trying to keep this secret for nefarious purposes. But whatever the case, right? I can't believe that. I'm having trouble now believing that Sean Kirkpatrick would really put his ass out on a line like this if it wasn't for a good reason. So maybe, and I've talked about this guy a lot on my show, maybe we give him a little slack. I mean, if you have beings that could do some of the things that these things can do, Maybe it needs to be kept secret for a little bit longer. Maybe it needs to be studied. Maybe it needs to be reverse engineered and absolute positive, no way anybody can ever find out secrecy. I don't know. So I'm just saying there's a lot of different things. There's so many thoughts that have gone through my mind this week. I've been sick over it because I know that this is the real deal now. It's a done deal. The real evidence is there. Everyone's going to see it. It's there. It can't go away. I mean, even if they could try to scrub the internet, but there's billions probably of different people that have already downloaded this Vegas video, and it's there. They have it. If you have it in your computer already, probably. Everybody has it. It's public domain. So I don't know. I just know this is that it's time for the debunkers to make a choice. I mean, I think we give them, put over the olive branch here. Look at this, okay? Look at this. Stop playing games already, all right? I mean, because I'm done with them. I'm done arguing with these people. We have the evidence now. Again, it'd be like arguing with a flat earther. So it's time to move on, folks. It's time to realize that what we have here is the no question about it, the absolute proof. Now that you see it, and it's undeniable now. It's undeniable. So we just move on from there. Now I do want to point out that very soon I did have this would be good news for you out there. I do plan on having some more guests on my show coming soon. I've actually been contacted. I just got done sending Preston Dennett an email back. We've been sending some emails back. He's going to be on my show in a few weeks. We're going to talk about his new book, among other things. Preston has a new book out, and we're going to be talking about that during a upcoming show. And I do plan on reaching out to some entomologists, people who are experts on insects, to tell us, to try to find out what are we dealing with here. What does it mean? If it's happened, it must be possible, right? For as fantastic as it sounds. But obviously, what's going on here? There was some place, maybe some other planet somewhere, right? What happened? Somehow insects evolved into intelligent beings, just like we evolved here. Just like human beings have evolved here. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like is going on. And I think there's a lot of... I mean, this is huge. It's a huge story, I know. It's a lot to swallow. It's very tough to swallow. It's a tough pill to swallow. And when you're faced with the absolute end-all evidence, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that are having trouble with it. There's been a few stragglers, and there's going to be people who hate my guts over this, right? And what am I going to do? I can't help it. I never thought that this was going to happen. I never thought that this was going to be ground zero for this evidence to come out. I never saw it coming in a million years. I was just talking about aliens and UFOs because I know it's real, and now here... somehow the proof got here, and it's coming out from this source right here for whatever reason. I'm not sure if I like it too much. It's scary. I'm scared about it a little bit, to be quite honest with you. But it's out. It's done. And I think we got to face it, and we got to get the scientific community involved now. It's time we've crossed that line, folks. No matter, I don't know when the good time would have been, right? When's a good time to tell everyone this? Well, guess what? It obviously doesn't really matter now. That's all academic because we're over the good time now. It's out there. It's time to move on. It's over. It's done. This is the evidence that we've waited for. There's evidence all over. I thought that we already had the evidence. As far as I was concerned, I've talked about this before, the Ariel School incident from 1994. If that didn't convince you, then I don't know if anything could have ever convinced you. The Turkey UFO stuff. Well, all those series of videos, that didn't constitute the end-all evidence for some reason, right? There's all these different things that happen. You can understand in a way, looking back at it. I mean, this is such an incredible thing. I mean, you would have to come up with incredible evidence. And this is it. This is the incredible evidence. Like I said, all the stars aligned. And it makes you wonder, too, when 2017 rolled around and those videos were leaked and the New York Times ran that story, you look back at it now, they knew this was coming. They knew it was coming because everyone has a cell phone now that's capable of filming high-definition video. Sooner or later, somebody was going to capture something that was going to be indisputable. It happened in Vegas on May 1st, 2023. That's when it happened. And now we know for sure what was going on there. It was what the people said it was. There were 8 to 10 foot tall alien creatures with big eyes in their backyard running around. They were using technology that exceeds anything that I know of. I never saw any kind of technology like that. I'm sure we're working on some kind of cloaking and technology and invisibility technology, but they were able to do something to that that makes your camera not be able to capture it. But for those few brief milliseconds, you see the face. There's guaranteed. Guaranteed evidence. So where's the rest of the UFO community? How come everyone else is getting up on their feet here and saying, yeah, this is it. This is the end. What's going on? What is everyone waiting for? What's going on here? Come on. Where's Jeremy Corbell? Where's George Knapp? Where's everybody at? Where's Lou Elizondo? Where's everybody else at? Where's Richard Dolan? I want everyone to start saying something about this. Do we have the evidence now? It's game over. Anyway, I want to say thank you all for joining me. Until next time.